Welcome to Universe Immersion, listeners. I am your host. I guess my name's Gregg Everman. And my device says we're going. Alright, so let's get started. I'm all set up here in the Universe Immersion mobile. If I could ever get my equipment on right. I guess today we're talking about, the football. Why don't we talk also about, how intimidating a radio show can be. So, this is the opening episode of Universe Immersion Radio, and I am on edge. And I think it's pretty easy to be on edge when you're starting up a radio show. For one, you're forcing your voice in a deliciously beautiful tone. And two, you've got all this equipment everywhere. Right now I've got wires and sound equipment and a few other things, like janitors and buzzboys and music playing in the background, the delicious Final Fantasy 15 soundtrack, which, just give me 1 second here. I'm going back to my favorite tune, A Quick Pit Stop, which is the signature track in the Final Fantasy 15 game franchise. Now, listeners, time to cut to the meat of the potato of today's program. At least I think it'll be, if I could ever get everything straight here. I think we're running good. Let's talk about creating entertainment, especially in the Final Fantasy 15 universe. Just gotta unzip my jacket. It is hot in the Universe Immersion mobile. Hold on, listeners. I hope you've been holding on, because do we have a program for you today? Maybe it's too hot in here. Perhaps I should get rid of the entire sweatshirt, which is strange because my thermometer says it is only 16 degrees outside, but inside the truck it's probably closer to 30? It's got to be at least a 15-degree difference. Excuse me, when I say the truck, I mean the Universe Immersion mobile, which is a sophisticated piece of technology, and which I have a dashboard of gadgets, and it's just generally a very sophisticated machine. You really have to see it to believe it. In the meantime, I think we should be talking about perhaps the what's on the agenda today. Well, in the meantime, I've been making a storyline to the Final Fantasy 15 because I'm playing such a boss soundtrack. I figured we should talk a little bit about 15 while we're listening to the soundtrack from 15. I'm sure you can agree with me. And for all you who have played 15, how's it going? Alright, so in the meantime, I've written a storyline for episode Lunafreya. Episode Lunafreya is something coming out later this year. It's probably going to be pretty garbage, all things considered. Just a second while I get the equipment in order, if you can still hear me. Lot of highly sensitive equipment and cup holders and all that stuff, very sensitive. And oh wait, I've got the heat on in here. Just a second. Just gotta clamber over all my Universe Immersion equipment. Now the mic isn't even long. Oh no. Hang on, listeners, everything's all tangled up here. Give me a sec. I lost something there. Give me another second here. Come on, listeners, be patient. You've got all day, I don't. Come on, listeners. Just a second. His headphones are all tangled in the wire here. I'm just trying to get it all untangled. It's all so sophisticated, right? There. There we go. Now. Just gotta find my iPod here. I can't even get the headphones in while holding the mic. Maybe I should get one of the assistants to hold on to the mic for me, because, you know, I've got... Oh wait, it's playing a garbage tune here on my iPod. Give it a second, just gotta skip it. Ah, the Altisha tune. Who doesn't like the Altisha tune? It's just a little loud. I'll turn it down a bit here. Give me a second. Okay, back to episode Lunafreya. I guess we're going. Can I get a glass of water, janitor? They serve me. I'm a little bit above them. Okay, episode Lunafreya. Well, okay, so what I have planned for episode Lunafreya is, instead of trying to rehatch the whole Final Fantasy 15, like what they're basically going to do with... That was someone else. What they're going to try to do with episode... What they're going to try to do with episode Lunafreya is they're going to... sometimes I crack myself up. Better get used to it, listeners. What they're going to try to do with episode Lunafreya is they're going to try to change the whole Final Fantasy 15 storyline, which I think is a garbage idea, considering how interesting the original storyline was. Despite the fact it was very dark and all that, it was actually really good. I've never had more fun in my life. I love Final Fantasy 15 as it was. I don't think anything should be changed. So we'll write the storyline for episode Lunafreya based in the original game. This tells the story of episode Lunafreya when she was, you know, after she escaped insomnia and all that, or insomnier if you're British, if that floats your... whatever they call a boat in England. So when she's fleeing insomnia, obviously she's missed a whole crowd of refugees. I've got it all written down in a whole bunch of notes here. So she hitchhikes to get to Sky, disguised in civilian garb, and of course she's obviously she's a pretty girl, so I mean she can pick up a ride or two. You know, a lot of dudes want to pick up the pretty lady. She rides at the multiple Imperial barricades around the city and at the town before the territory of Sky. Sky, I think, is the whole desert area in front of, well, it's the main playable area in 15, the first playable area anyway. Either way, it's way cooler than the grasslands, I think, the desert area. So at one point she drives by the Regalia. If you remember, the Regalia was heading to Insomnier in order to do something. I forget what Nock was doing. I think he was trying to see if his dad was alive or dead or who knows what all. But anyways, in the meantime, Lunafreya drives past them. You didn't see that in the game, but don't worry, it was there. And so her driver stops the car and lets her out, right? Because she's trying to flag down the Regalia. But no one spots her. Oh no. They're so perturbed by the terrible news of the destruction of Insomnia, so that her cries are in vain. Oh. In the meantime, so she becomes disheartened, right? On a serious note, she becomes disheartened and gets back into her car. The Empire is searching for her, and she's got to stay on the run. No diddly-dallying. So one time at a checkpoint along the road, she even has to rush out of the passenger seat of the car she's in and slip quietly into the seat of a parallel car. Luckily, the guy is flattered. Pretty lady. And doesn't report her. Now, in the meantime, Haravis, her brother, the loser, is in an emergency room just outside of Insomnia. Now, he got scorched bad by the ring when he tried to put it on a couple days prior to where the story is. So he's in excruciating pain and feeling worthless because the kings rejected him. No ring of the Lucii for you, loser. Now, 2 days earlier, his arm had been burnt off, right? While being tortured by the ring which refused him, he'd attempted to commit suicide by jumping over the side of the Insomnia throne tower. Now he fell almost to the ground, far below, when Gentiana appeared. We all know who Gentiana is, right? The astral, the good-looking girl there who's always following Lunafreya around, who's actually Shiva, who... let's not go into that. Let's just pretend she's just Gentiana for now. By the way, so she used her power as an astral to save Ravis from death. When he fell, he didn't die because she saved him. Okay, let me see. Then, okay, so she extinguished the purple flames that were burning up his arm with her ice. Pretty much, his arm's pretty much, you know, extra crispy by now. You know, charbroiled. Now, in the meantime, his hair's actually gone snow white because it burnt the life out of his hair. He used to have this pretty good-looking blonde hair. He was a blondie, like a British blondie or something. Lunafreya has blonde hair too. It's cool. Meantime, he fell into unconsciousness after Gentiana revived him. So now the Deputy High Commander Artifact Van Thiel is struggling after the death of General Glauco to arrange checkpoints around Insomnia to prevent the escape of officials. Artifact Van Thiel. It's like a cool Niflheim name. Just give me a second, listeners, while I turn off the Universe Immersion mobile and continue to enjoy the Final Fantasy 15 boss soundtrack. While I, your host today, get out of range of the mic here. Sorry about that. That was some loser. Just gotta put the Universe Immersion keys in their special spot on the really cool looking rack. So in the meantime, so Artifact Van Thiel is not only let me see what's he doing here. Okay, so Artifact Van Thiel is struggling with he's trying to arrange checkpoints around the summit to prevent the escape of officials. Big shots. Kingsglaive, he doesn't like Kingsglaive except for those traitors, but they're mostly all dead. And of course, Lady Lunafreya. I mean, obviously he doesn't want Lunafreya to get away. Because she was given the Ring of the Lucii by King Regis Lucius Kylum, Noctis Lucius Kylum's papa. However, Ideolus Aldercopt reprimands Artifact Van Thiel on his slowness. It's already been a couple days. Meanwhile, Lunafreya and her driver enter the territory of Disguy. Yeah. Okay, so they're able to acquire a small trailer to sleep in along with about 10 refugees. You know, a lot of refugees trying to sleep somewhere. Can't sleep on the ground. There's too many darn demons outside. So Luna hasn't slept in days, and she's still restless and anxious over what she has to do now. She's starting to get a good grip on what exactly her job title means, and it's starting to perturb her. So she falls to sleep eventually, but her dreams are tiring. Exhausting dreams, really. Just got to switch hands here for the speaker. You know what it's like here in Universe Immersion Radio. We got to do the tough decisions like switching hands with the radio mic. Okay, so Lunafreya, back to her. She sees her long-dead mother that night, arrayed in her youth and clothed in a beautiful golden dress. Decorative, I'm sure, and very good-looking. Her mother is, probably looks a lot like her. As a matter of fact, I liken her mother more to the Lunafreya from 15 rather than Kingsglaive. If you've watched both installments in Final Fantasy 15, universe, Kingsglaive and 15, you'll notice that Lunafreya looks very different and even sounds a little different from between the two concepts. Now, while that's, of course, you know, everyone knows why that is, we're not even going to go into that. I still think Lunafreya, to me, Lunafreya always looks like the Lunafreya from Kingsglaive. Kind of this softer, kind of emotional girl, whereas the girl from 15 looks a little more steely and tough. So yeah. I imagine her mother looks more like the steely and tough one. Her mother tells Lunafreya that she must fulfill the calling of the Oracle, a calling of every member of the Nox Fleuret family, and she has to summon the 6 astrals to aid Noctis Lucius Caelum in his terrible journey, and we all know what that journey is if we've played 15. Now, Lunafreya is perturbed by this news, because she knows well how much some of the astrals hate humanity. Woo! You know, that Leviathan bum and that Titan idiot. You know, you gotta watch out for them losers. And she knows the great danger that not only she faces, but how much danger her beloved Noctis will have to go through if the astrals are awakened. Just gotta let the janitor cough here. Hey, janitor. We're on. We're live. Can you stop coughing for a second? That will fix him. Trying to interrupt the Universe Immersion radio broadcast. What a loser the guy is. Nothing can stop what must be done from being done. Luna has thought much throughout her hard upbringing of Noctis, and she kind of loves the man she only knew as a boy with an almost unrealistic love. Now, if you recall, they were both just a little boy and a little girl. I think Luna's actually a little bit older than Noct, maybe like a couple years. But she kind of just attaches something to Noct, which, I don't know, he probably doesn't even deserve, but which, hang on, they're playing one of those really weird Apocalypse, Aquarius or something, soundtrack things. It's kind of a little hokey pokey. Maybe too much for such a cute little part. I'm listening to it on my boom box. Okay, so now Luna's thought much through. Okay, so she knows Noctis probably feels nothing the same for her because, you know, I mean, he's been living in a castle and he's had a good life, pretty much. Whereas she had a really lousy life. If you look at some of the deleted scenes, apparently Glauca is even beating up Luna as a girl in one scene. They deleted the scene, but, you know, you still get the feeling that she had a pretty rough childhood. And, so she loves Noctis. For 12 years, she's clung on to her girlhood love of Noctis Lucius Caelum. Not something most people would do these days. So, while her mother's talking to her, she begs her mother to release her of this burden, but the woman in gold refuses. She's probably glowing and all that, too. I actually kind of have a good idea what her dress might look like, but we'll go into that later on. We'll conspire as we dream, as Luna's dreaming. So her mother says to her, "This is a burden I'll try to get the British thing going. This is a burden I would have gladly taken on so you would be free of it, but that is not how the gods would have it. And there is naught that I can do to change that. Be strong, dearest Lunafreya. Be strong, be brave, and strive after the good of all, the good of every citizen of our star." How's that? Lunafreya begs her mom to stay, but she fades. Let's go, Lunafreya begs her mother to stay because mom sounds a little bit geeky. Luna awakens then. She weeps bitterly lying in bed as the full realization of her calling assails her, and she's starting to get a pretty good idea of what it is. And even though she had a pretty good idea earlier on, she's starting to realize that this is probably going to cost Noctis, her beloved, his life. And probably her life too, and she's concerned about that. I mean, who wouldn't be? But maybe not as much. Can we stop clearing our throat on aisle 4? It's a big truck, this Universe Immersion mobile. It fits like, I don't know, 200 people or something. It's big, you know, and it's got aisleways and all that stuff. Anyways, get back to the episode, Lunafreya. So the next 2 days are more running, right? She's still trying to escape Magitech and stops and all that. I imagine she even has to off-road a lot, just walking. Although you can't walk at night because demons will get you. So you gotta watch out. So Magitech engines are everywhere. Magitech engines. And Imperial checkpoints are at almost every corner. They're setting them up all over the sky. And they've got a lot of forces because the war is over now. They can commit everybody to checkpoints. So throughout the day, Lunafreya is melancholy. All her expectations of the future are one by one being shattered. You know, all that grand future stuff. It's out the window. At this time, Idealist Alderkop, the Emperor guy, has taken the crystal back to Niflheim. What an idiot. Immediately it's discovered, true to the word of King Regis, which he had said, the crystal will not serve you? I think he said you. And the crystal will not serve them. Boom. The Emperor's furious and demands Arden Izunia perform one of his demonic miracles to make it work. We all know Arden Izunia. Well, somebody's got something bad. Arden pretends to try a few tricks to make the crystal obey the Emperor, even though he knows it won't, but ends up telling him that only the ring seems to be able to have the code. Now, Versailles Basithia and he convinced the Emperor that they could replicate the crystal's power were they to have the ring. Ideal Alderkop agrees and orders Deputy High Commander, who was behind General Glauca, Artavas Vantil, to find Lunafreya with all haste. So Artavas begins by searching for Prince Noctis, thinking that Lunafreya must have given it to him by now. Ravis is convinced that Luna still has it, though, and requests to go after her. He still wishes to be its rightful bearer and needs to capture the ring again to prove to the king that he is worthy. So Ravis doesn't believe he was given a proper shake by the kings, and is convinced they made a mistake in denying it to him. I mean, after all, according to him, Gentiana did, in fact, rescue him. He's right about that, too. So doesn't that make him special? He's special. Make him special. So Artafast refuses to do that, though, and searches Golden Key as well as Hammerhead Station for any trace of Noctis. Sid and that Dino guy, that guy who's always talking kind of like an idiot and who's a real stupid Dino guy and all this stupid... They don't reveal anything. He's Sid and Dino. They keep their big mouths shut. That was someone else. Now, Lunafreya has taken a trip with So Lunafreya has taken a trip with a young gung-ho hunter to a pit stop near Hammerhead. It's not in Hammerhead. She never went to Hammerhead, but she goes near Hammerhead. Now, the hunter's name is Damien, yes. And he's well known by a few of the refugees with Luna to be a demon killer. Now, it's an over-exaggerated thing, but anyways, by now, Lunafreya is in a worse mental place than ever before. Her duty as both Oracle and Princess of Tenebrae had always before driven her onward, without hesitation. All she'd ever needed to know was that a greater good than herself was at stake to keep her spirits high. But now, slowly beginning to realize just how much this quest would cost her dearest Noctis, Luna's heart begins to sink. Right? She's going through a pretty rough time. If this was a gameplay, I imagine there'd be a lot of, running from checkpoints. I don't think Lunafreya does a lot of fighting. That's not really her thing. Oh, you're just being rid of it's like a masculinist, So the dudes all get to fight, but Lunafreya don't get to fight. Oh, no, she doesn't. I mean, she's not really much of a fighter, right? There's no evidence at all in either Kingsglaive or 15 of her being a fighter, so no, I would say her gameplay should be very centered around dodging patrols and, talking to people and blending into disguise and, wearing disguises, changing disguises often and all that, hitchhiking, getting rides, because she can't drive, I don't think, at least according to Kingsglaive. When Nick said to her, do you know how to drive? She said, I'll try. I forget how the exact conversation went, but something like that. But in the meantime, so she does have to hitchhike a lot of rides. You have to grab meals here and there. You've got to beg your way pretty much through. So yeah, I think the gameplay would actually be pretty fun. Who needs more shooting and killing animals and all that nonsense anyway? Maybe even have to requisition like kingsclaves here and there to help you out. I think that'd be pretty cool. Don't you? So anyways, Lunafreya's new driver Damian sees her break is it Damian or hang on a second. Just give the big boy a second. Sorry. It is Damian. Damian. Almost like Damien, but Damian. So the meantime, as she's driving with Damian throughout the territory, trying to slip from place to place, she's near Hammerhead, as I mentioned earlier. Her new driver, Damian, sees her breaking into silent tears in the passenger seat of his retro blue truck. Awesome truck. Like I'm talking awesome truck. That old 1950 style, those beauties. So Damian asks her, he asks her about it. He says to her, what's eating you, sis? I mean, obviously, it's a sad day for a lot of people, but she seems to just continually be down in the dumps. So she just tells him, nah, it's nothing, and hides her tears. But obviously, her sorrow isn't really gone yet. Could someone turn that page there for the big boy? Yeah, thanks a lot, boys. You guys are good employees, all of you. The Universe Immersion mobile it's a sophisticated employee thing and all that. So the next day at a crow's nest, not far from the Imperial Gate to Clien, Luna is sitting at a bar stool to order dinner. Don't you just love crow's nests? I just love those things. What can I get you, little lady? The bartender asks, one of those southern boys. Damian is chatting to a buddy across from a radio in the restaurant and is preoccupied. Luna, without a thought, orders the first thing on the menu. I'll just take whatever. Who knows how she puts it, but something like that. That'll be 42 gittle, miss, he says. And then seeing her downcast face, he says with a wink, but since y'all are so cute looking, I'll give it to you for just 30. Today only. Now, Luna has no money. I guess that's one thing she hasn't been able to get. She begins, I've not got anything to give. Just those words drop a flow of bitterness in her, and she has to hide her head. It's kind of a bad reaction, but unfortunately that's what's happening. The bartender's concerned. Y'all feeling okay, miss? She can't answer. It's all too biting. Another customer shows up and draws the bartender's attention away. Wait, Luna says guiltily. She's got that kind of sorrowful look on her face. Just imagine her as the Kingsclave Luna for now. I think that's the one that she seems more like here. I have something. Reluctantly, she pulls a knife from her skirt pocket and hands it across the counter to him. His eyes pop open. Well, I'll be just... She's given him the ring of the Lucy Eye. Bombshell. Well, shucks, the bartender says. He's stammering, just looking at it. Would you just look at that fine thing? All the patterns and the stuff on her? Damian, as well as two other people, come up to examine it with him. None of them recognize it, but they all whistle. Hope that's not too hard on my listeners' ears. You gotta have tough ears these days. Yeah, it's not a time for people with wimpy ears. You sure about this, missy? The bartender asks. This here's worth a lot more than a few fries. I'll pay your way, miss, Damian also offers. You keep your ring, that thing's worth a fortune. She looks up bitterly at the ring, tears welling in her eyes. Please take it, she moans, guilt and sorrow tearing her apart inside. She feels terrible and cowardly. Well, okay then, the man behind the counter says, opening up his gill register to place the ring in. He's just like, okay. Now breaking out into miserable tears, Luna utters the word, no, and snatches the ring. She turns toward the window and sits down in the seat opposite the perplexed men. Closing her eyes, she can only fight down her fears and hold the ring tight against her chest. Just that burning feeling. Damian and the bartender come to sit next to her after a few minutes. The bartender offers her the platter of food she'd ordered, free of charge. He's a good guy. So what's up with that ring anyway? Damian asks when she doesn't even notice them. It is, she says with eyes still firmly shut, it is life and death, sorrow and hope intermingled,
awful, wretched sorrow and hope which only strangers will ever feel. Whose sorrow and hope? The bartender asks. She can't answer them for a long moment as her eyes turn to face the light drizzle coming down from outside the crow's nest. Rain on the windows. Darkness. Despair? Doom and gloom type stuff. She answers him. My prince is in mine. She turns to them. And they don't quite know what that means. Gentlemen, what would you do with the only true love of your life condemned through your own actions to an inescapable death? Taken back, they don't have a single answer to give her. She looks back into the rain and leans her weary head against the window. That's that. Imperial soldiers enter the town and search for her a little later, I'm sure. Luna notices her brother among them, Ravis Nox Fleury. The man in the cool white coat who's trying to look cool in the white coat. There's no poppy, happy-go-lucky soundtrack playing here, though. The bartender, suspecting that they're here for Luna and her ring, which he's starting to wonder what it is, he tells her to play a waitress. So here's another pretty cool gameplay element, right? So she does, and the Nephilim guards don't recognize her working in the kitchen, so she probably has to cook meals and stuff for people and try to, keep their cap low over her eyes and, try to stay as inconspicuous as possible as they're searching they're just checking out the customers at the crow's nest. It's a big crow's nest. There's a lot of customers, probably a good 20 people in there. It's a little after the lunch hour, say. So she does this for him, and the guards don't recognize her working in the kitchen. The guards are also, I think, like those, if you remember that part in Kingsglaive where like those, it was like the guys who, someone's got it bad, I'm telling you. Those guys in Kingsglaive who were, they're the guys who grabbed the crystal from the throne tower. Those guys wear like the yellow and white, and they really look cool. Neat helmets and all that stuff. Really cool looking guys. Too bad they don't show them much more in any other Final Fantasy. But yeah, they really looked cool. So those guys, so they're the guys who were searching, right? Not really so much the Niflheim, the MTs, those robots. They're more like just for basic duties, right? So Ravis enters after a while. I gotta stop whistling. I'm probably knocking some people's ears out here. Man, you have got to be kidding. What point did it come out here? Just trying out my good voice there, the big one. You know what I'm talking about, right? Sorry, I just had to test out the speakers there. I think we're all good here. I think we're good to go. Sorry, just had a few technical issues there. It happens, when the perfect, well-oiled machine isn't so perfect and well-oiled. We've all been through it before. Meantime, let's get back to the episode before I lose my temper. So, we were at the Ravis Centers. After questioning the bartender for the location of his sister, he lazily orders something by calling to the waitress in the back room. She has her back turned. Hey, Missy, I'll have the number 2 special. Something to that effect. Lunafreya holds her breath and doesn't dare turn around. She quickly remembers the lessons an old maid at the Tenebrite Castle taught her about cooking and prepares Ravis's dish. This is a tough one. Remember that old maid that was in, she was in Kingsglaive N15 actually. She talks to Noctis once about Lunafreya. That's the one I'm talking about. She's the one who taught Lunafreya a few things about cooking. Now, princesses don't have to know too much about cooking, but she did know a few things. Maybe just to pass the time. In the meantime, if you're hearing a bunch of background noise, that's the delicious sound of the Universe Immersion mobile doing its thing. Right now, we're bopping along down the cobblestones of my mansion, and we're just like, we're making great time, right? We're on to a show in Dallas, and then we got to be in Amsterdam by tomorrow morning because we're having a giant conference there, and like there's millions of people who are going to be watching. As you all know, Universe Immersion is like this emerging universe immersion. This immersion in universe, and you know, we have probably over 1 trillion. Meantime, yes sir, back to it. So, she keeps her head down as she walks toward the countertop and places the delicious dish in front of him. Low carb and low fat and all that good stuff. Now she's keeping the cap over her eyes because she doesn't, you know, I mean, she's got blonde hair, but a lot of people have blonde hair. I mean, he's got white hair now anyway. It's not a staple of the Knox Fleury family anymore. Alright, so for a second he's wondering if there's something familiar about this guy. He's going, Let's go. Let's play that. Sorry, this. It's so fun. Sometimes. Sometimes we're just getting a little cracked up here at Universe Immersion. And, you know, it's a stressful job and all that, you know. Got some tears on the mic. Can I get a clean up over here? So, in the meantime, just got to turn off the Universe Immersion mobile while we're at it here. The mobile is officially off. So after Ravis is done going, he takes a bite of the fish dinner. Right? He takes a bite. Can we get quiet in the booth back there? So, Ravis takes a bite of the fish dinner and he turns his attention to the officer beside him, one of those guys in the yellow and white and all that, the really cool looking dudes. He tells him, spread your men throughout the town, keep looking for her. He's dropped his suspicions that there's something familiar about this girl. So, the moment she gets a chance, Luna rushes at the back and is met by Damian. He tells her to come with him immediately, and they run to a bunch of rocks behind a small town. That was uncalled for. A Magitech engine and 2 Magitech ATVs. Yeah, ATVs. Search every square. Wait. ATVs. Wait, hey, I'm sorry. I think I meant to put those I don't know if you remember from the pre-Final Fantasy 15 trailers and stuff, but some of the gameplay trailers had these Niflheim roadblocks, right? And the roadblocks were kind of these cool looking SUVs. They looked almost like the front of a Niflheim trooper's face cage. They were actually really cool looking. It's really too bad they got deleted, but those are the Jeeps I'm talking about. So SUVs, not ATVs. I just looks like one of my assistants messed up a little bit on the paperwork. Gonna have to remove that assistant of their active duties and put them on janitor staff or kitchen patrol. So, a Magitech engine and 2 Magitech SUVs search every building and some of the surrounding area for her. It's just a small little town. But thanks to the skill of Damian, the two are able to stay hidden. He's a pretty expert guy in the wilds, this fellow. So, he tells her of his experience hunting over the years and how he has a lot of experience hiding from demons. He even killed a number of demons in my day. Not as many as people think, but shucks, I ain't gotta say... I ain't gotta say. Wait, I'm so sorry. Wait, sorry. Marker. Better not lose it again here. I ain't gonna say nothing to change all the good looks the gals gave me every day. He's just kind of joking to the girl. Ravis and his men leave town. Luna and Damian return to the crow's nest and stay there in a basement apartment for the night. Trying to stay in nice concealed area. I'm guessing the bartender's helping them out a little bit. So that night, lying awake in her bed, Lunafreya sees a vision of a man who saved her life on multiple occasions some days prior. Nix Ulrich. Anyone who's seen Kingsglaive just loves the dude. Standing before her, aglow and grinning. Now, there's a lot of question of the Lunafreya Nix Ulrich. Let's call it the Nix Ufreya? Nix Ufreya? Nix Afreya, which is like, Nix and Luna ending up as a couple, Would have been cool, but didn't happen, I'm afraid, folks. So, we're sticking to what we got here. You're not looking too hot, princess, he remarks. Duty's getting you down, huh? Oh, Nix, she cries, sitting up. Dear Nix Ulrich, please. She pulls out the ring and offers it. It is yours and not mine. You sacrificed all to save me. I owe you an unpayable debt, but I beg of you to take this ring which you have conquered and use it to save my beloved. Save him from his fate, I beg of you. That's not how it works, princess, he replies, shaking his head. I would have, if that was my duty, but it's not. It's not for no reason that you were given the ring of the Lucy-eyed Lady Lunafreya. It's a burden, it's a heavy burden, but you gotta believe that it came to you because it was meant to. Now she's still holding out the ring, but she doesn't interrupt them as he's talking. I hate to be the one to have to break it to you, but this destiny was meant for you, not me, he smiles. Come on, I already died once for the guy, don't I get a break? She doesn't laugh, even though he's trying to be a little more lighthearted with her in her tough times. But how? How can I find the strength to do this? I almost gave the ring away once already. But you didn't, did you? She looks down to her knees. She barely even feels worthy in the presence of this guy. I have not the strength like you, dear Nix. I cannot bear this terrible burden as you bore yours. Obviously, he died for his burden. He died for Prince Noctis as well. He laughs. No, you see, I've already got too big of a bet going on with King Regis for you to fail me now. Regis! She breathes. Obviously, she saw Regis' death. He's here, princess. So's your mom. We're all with you through every step of the way. She can only stare at the vision. Find your strength and your courage. Don't tell me you ain't got any. I know you too well to buy that. Everyone's counting on it, and so is Noctis. He needs you to do this more than anyone else. He begins to fade away from her into the dim, just like her mother did the night before. Or 3 nights before? 3 nights before, I guess it is. He'll find his courage if you give him a heck of an example. And you will. I'm counting on you. She reaches out into the blackness of the room as he disappears. Silence for a while. Nyx, my mother, my king, she says in a low voice. Be with me. Help me to bear this burden of mine, and I will bear it. I swear to you I will. She returns to her bed and stares at the ring in her hand as she lies awake. To her surprise, she isn't afraid of it anymore. Now, later on, she discovers the place where Ramu, the Astral of Storms, has laid for many generations. I imagine she, it's only about 100 kilometers away, in the Cleane territory. Cleane, I guess it's pronounced. Now, I imagine she had to talk to a lot of people to figure out where it is. But that's part of her gameplay element, right? Isn't that so cool? You gotta talk to people in this gameplay to figure out where stuff is. You know, because obviously you're not Superwoman, you don't know everything. You know, she just showed up in disguise, like I don't know, like 2 days ago, I don't know, she's not super lady, she just showed up here, she's not so she just, okay, so Damian is fortunately heading in that direction also and offers her a ride. Good dude. She accepts. Now, he's seen a lot from her and he knows something's up, but he doesn't quite know what's up yet. Their truck breaks down near the Imperial Gate on the way to Cleane. The engine. Bad motor. Too bad it was a cool truck. Luna decides to go on foot through the rocky valleys to side-skirt the gate, the Imperial Gate up ahead. Now, Damia tells her that the area will be swarming with demons at night, but she insists that she must brave the danger regardless. Her duty's kind of just pushing her on. Now, Damian abandons his car and goes after her. He knows that she's just going to get eaten alive. She's got a lot of cool ways of getting herself out of jams, which you do in a lot of gameplay stuff, but demons are going to eat her alive. He knows it. So he decides to teach her something about hunting along the way, and as they sit around a campfire high on a hill that night, he tells her his story. The story of Damian. Coming up only on Universe Immersion. Listeners. That was the exclusive content. Here, only on Universe Immersion, you get the story behind Damian. So Damian was a married man. He hunted with his wife. They were pretty close. She was very skilled at preparing anything they killed. So when he bagged something or she bagged something, they were like rifle-type hunters. Those kind of almost cool Gauss cannons that those hunters carry throughout the campaign. These things are awesome. So those were probably their guns they used. So one day in the area not far from where he and Lunafreya are talking right now, Damian had lost his way in the woods, or maybe in the rocks. Despite believing that he could easily find the other hunters before dark, he was probably with a squad of hunters and took off for a bit, and then he got lost. Another Universe Immersion exclusive input there. So the demons attacked them that night. Which is anything funny, listeners. Don't want to get attacked by demons, listeners. Yeah. So the demons attacked them that night. Though clawed and beaten almost to death, Damian survived the night. His wife, though, was dragged into the brush and murdered by the creatures. When I say demons, I don't mean those losers you see in the caves and the loser Iron Giant and all those other losers. I'm talking about the scary demons. The skull-faced ones and that kind of weird octopus Davy Jones looking dude, and not even the unrealistic silly ones Yogo Jimbo, for example, that silly looking dude who's an old Final Fantasy tradition. Come on, he's not a demon, he's there for the fans. But in the meantime, so those scary-looking dudes dragged his wife into the bush and murdered her. Yipe. Now, that was 5 years ago. Now, Damian doesn't let it get to him much anymore. Guess you gotta get over things, even though he was just kind of a young guy when his wife got killed. But a lot of people die to the demons these days. You kind of gotta just roll with the punches. Hang on 1 second, listeners. I'm just going to turn on my iPod shuffle. Does this thing even work? Hang on a second, listeners. We're having some technical difficulties. You know what? That type of difficulty. You know what I'm saying. Just a second. We could play Chew Lane, or we could just play Ambience. I don't even know what's on this thing. These are my brothers. I mean, my producers thing. iPod Shuffle. Let's play some Final Fantasy 15. Wanderlust. It's gotta be Wanderlust. The listeners. Just turn the volume down, listeners, so that I can hear what the words that are coming out of my mouth instead of having to not hear the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay, so we were back at Damian. So that was 5 years ago, Bob. So he still feels somewhat responsible for his wife's death, you know, because he messed up pretty bad, and he hates the demons vehemently for it. But he also greatly wishes for the curse to be lifted from the star, the curse of the demons. And, you know, well, he should. It's a really lousy curse. So Luna tells him everything about the ring at this point. She says that if Prince Noctis fulfills his calling with it, then the darkness will be purged from Eos. So this is pretty big stuff, right? So she tells him everything about the ring at this point. She tells him that she's Lady Lunafreya of the House of Tenebrae and needs to awaken the astrals from their slumber. That is her calling. Now, Damian is surprised, but admits that it explains a lot. You know, like that ring incident in the cafeteria. He wasn't sure what the heck was going on there. So Lunafreya asks him to be her escort, at least as far as to the cave of Ramu. So he agrees. He was probably going to anyway. Now they face some demons and wild creatures along the way to the Imperial Gate. With the aid of her magic, though, they pass unharmed. So Damian's a hunter. He's pretty good at fighting. And then, I imagine that would have something to do with the gameplay, too. Maybe you have to almost, like, use Damian as, like, you almost have to coordinate attacks with Damian or something. I'm sure you'd get something really cool going. Now, I don't want to get, like, the whole, you know, the big, tough hunter guy's got to look after the little baby princess who can't even, you know, get out of bed in the morning without some dude helping her. I'm not looking to get one of those. But I'm looking to get one that's realistic. I mean, for goodness sakes, Lunafreya was never a fighter. Now, that's not to say she can't fight. I mean, she does have magical powers with that trident and stuff. She can summon astrals, although don't forget she can't summon astrals yet, because they haven't been found yet. Sorry, someone was tickling me, I think. Gonna have to pummel that person at some point later on. So they pass more or less unharmed, still with good HP. Damian knows some friends at the gate and pulls every string he has to get Lunafreya through without being searched. That could be another cool gameplay element. You gotta barter your way in, you know, bribe and reason and, you know, like, hey, we're buddies, right? Come on, let's let the little lady through. She's just a nice little lady. Because they're searching all women, obviously, looking for Lady Lunafreya. Ravis is in charge of that search. So now, here as they're going through the gate, and this happened in the game 15, Lunafreya meets Gentiana, as well as her messenger dog, Umbra. Now, Gentiana tells Lunafreya to send Noctis a message to confirm to him that she's still alive and has the ring. At least I think that's what the messenger dog sent to Noctis in the game. I might have to play that part again to be sure. So she writes it down in the book she and Noctis have been communicating through for the last 12 years. They've had this cool communication system going through these spiritual dogs. So Umbra departs with the book. Meantime, Gentiana gives Lunafreya the summoning trident of the Oracle. The same one her mother used before her. You never really see that, but it's a cool backstory thing. Now, the Astrals will answer to the one who wields this trident. We're gonna have to find a point to cut off here because the talk is getting a little bit long. So, Let me just see. Ba, 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 ba. Dee, da, da, dee, da, da, da. Dum, bam, 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 bum, beam, bum, bum. Doody, doody, doo. Doody, doo, doody. Doo, doody, doo. Dee, doo. Dee, doody, doo. Dee, dee, doo. I think I'll stop right there, listeners. Yeah, why not? In the meantime, the pleasure was all yours for being able to listen to my incredible voice. And this is Universe Immersion getting ready to sign off after these pop-up ads. Hey there, are you a person who loves to use cables in your stuff? Well, look no further than the Digiflex cable. This thing can just a second, listeners. This thing can connect your device to your microphone in just like 10 easy steps. First, you put the little thing in the other thing, and then you use the cable, even though it's way too long for anyone's purposes. You put the cable into the iPad or whatever type of thing you're using, and then you just talk into the microphone, and it works like a charm. Get your Digiflex cable today. And also a commercial for General Motors Corporation Industrial Limited. Looking for a General Motors Looking for a General Motors product? Well, you've come to the right place. The General Motors dealership has lots of General Motors products. From trucks to SUVs to cars to motorcycles to airplanes, we carry all General Motors stuff here at your local GM dealership. Come get it today, or else go to the Honda dealership across the road. They've got everything you Honda lovers could ever want, from Honda cars, motors, engines, SUVs, airplanes. They have all the Honda products you need. Get Honda today, or instead buy our stuff. That would be good too. This has been a message from General Motors Corporation Unlimited. And the final message today, ladies and gentlemen, is from looking around for something here. Football. Today is opening weekend in football. Today being the opening day in football, there's a lot of teams playing, and football's ratings are at an all-time low. So, if you're not watching football, I don't know where you at. On Thursday night, Gregg Everman's favorite team, the Eagles, won. So, and they even won the Super Bowl last year too, which was also pretty cool. So if you're not watching football today, or you're not watching baseball, or you're not really watching anything, if you're just busy listening to Universe Immersion, stop listening to Universe Immersion and go watch football. Football is, it's just really good stuff. You know, you got quarterbacks and receiver, and that was all today for General Motors. I'm afraid we're out of time, folks. The only time that's left is for me to talk a little bit more. So join me tomorrow, the next day maybe? Or, well, it depends when I upload this, because I've got bunk internet. I mean, my internet's so bad. I mean, it just doesn't upload anything fast. You know, you could have it on all night. You know, that stupid load bar is only at like 70%. You know, this episode is like 2 hours long or something. It's probably gonna be on all night, like most of tomorrow. I mean, it's just really lousy. You know, I mean, darn stuff never gets going. Anyway, so for all you people out there who enjoy Universe Immersion, please send me cash money. Lots of cash money. So I'll just try to remember where. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to be talking about. This is a lead-in for tomorrow morning's episode. Artifact Vantil is relieved of duty. Whoa! And Ravis knocks Floyd becomes the High Commander. Oh! Didn't see that one coming. So in the meantime, Ravis and his fleet slay the Glacian and find Lady Lunafreya. Luna is captured. What? She and Damian get abducted by aliens. I mean, by Ravis, of course. The aliens happen later in the next episode, which will be episode Prompto 2. We'll see. And Luna is taken aboard a Magitech engine, but Ravis takes the ring from her. Oh no! Not the ring of the Lucii! What will happen next? This is just a quick excerpt of dialogue. To slay Titan, Ravis responds, to free you of your burden. Ravis, you cannot do this. Astrals are necessary for the rise of the true Lord of Eos, she cries. It is Noctis and not your Emperor Aldercott. In front of his MTs, he replies, of course the Emperor is not true Lord of Eos, but it is not your boy either, Lunafreya. Yeah, family problems. Alright, that's it for today. So long from Universe Immersion. I hope you're still awake. And if you're not, sleep tight, listeners. Have yourself a wonderful day, and you better watch that football, else General Motors is going to